Guys, we got new hats. Let's check them out. These are all the new hats available on the website. We got the No Pasa Nada with the round bill, mesh back in blue and in red. We have the Top G hat for all my homies out there with the white mesh. We have the Glamis hat. This is a premium classics hat, so that one looks freaking sick for all you Glamis Dooners. We got the Stay Dirty Drip. This one is one of my favorites. This one has the mesh back and that drip logo. One of my faves for sure. Another one of my favorites has got to be the To the Moon hat with the checkered bill, gray mesh on the back. I love that hat. We also have another version coming out for the ladies in pink. For all my patriots out there, we got the Just Send It with the American flag on the back. This is a regular style snapback. This one, another premium classics hat with the green underbill, red with the all gas no brakes. That thing came out freaking sick. The stitching on these hats is next level. And last but not least, we got the green, white, and red No Pasa Nada back in stock. We ordered a bunch of these because you guys like these hats. All right, guys, let's get on to the video. Guys, another Maverick R video. This time, we're talking about the SWITCHPROS and how I wired it into this new platform. So, a lot of accessories are going to go on this machine. None of them, which are on the car right now, but I pre-wired everything for the future. I'm future-proofing this, so I don't have to take this thing apart multiple times. So if this is something you guys want to do to your machine, you get a brand new car, UTV side-by-side, and you want to pre-wire it and leave everything set up for your future upgrades, this is what I would do. This is the video for you, so let's get into it. All right, so 2024 Maverick R, very similar as far as the wiring to a Can-Am X3. You got 3 posts up here at the top where the fuse block location is here for this access cover. There's a positive, there's a ground, and there's an accessory wire. Like the X3, I'm not using that. I'm using the 3 posts that's located in the center console. So, gotta pull off the seats. So in order to pull off the seats, there's bolts here. Obviously, I have everything pre-loose. And that's gonna come off. Then you got 2 18mm that are in the back. You can access those by grabbing this cover, unzipping it here, and then there's some access holes right there. A lot of guys like to take these off. I don't really like doing that because then you got to finagle with the seat belts, and then you got to cut this tab up here for this. So I don't do it that way. I just use these access holes. You slide the seat to the position where you can line them up, take those nuts off, and then you can pull the seat out. Now, as you can see, I already got my stuff ready with some new seats. I'm getting this machine ready for King of the Hammers. Not sure when this video will drop, but that is what I'm doing currently. And as you can see, we have new PRP 4.3s to save my ass just in case I get a little wild. So SWITCHPROS is this video, and that's what it's about. We're going to show you guys where I mounted the faceplate or the actual switch controller, and we use a bracket made by TMW Off-Road. They make this cool 3D printed affordable bracket. I happen to get mine in the gray color to kind of match the OEM plastic up above, or that bezel, and that houses all my lights. And as you can see, I already have everything pre-wired as far as switch stickers. So main thing with a SWITCHPROS, and I'll pull one out to show you guys what comes in the box, but main thing with a SWITCHPROS is finding a place to put your switch plate. So check on that, and then the other part is figuring out where to put your brain box. So before I show you guys where I put the brain box, I'm gonna pull that other seat out to show you guys how it's mounted. So when you first get a SWITCHPROS, you gotta open the box and check out the contents inside as stuff falls here. You get an instruction book, you get some stickers, you also get your brain box. Now this is an 8 switch system. We aren't gonna go in depth crazy on how to mount, or excuse me, wire a SWITCHPROS. I will leave a link to a video I did on a SWITCHPROS 12. This 8 is a little bit different, but on that SWITCHPROS 12, we even did push button start on that video on an X3 Max. So check that video out if you want the more in-depth. This is gonna be pretty much how and where to put the SWITCHPROS, not specifically, you know, how to wire it. We will break down some of the stuff. So we have here the brain box. In a second, we'll show you where I mount this. This is a guy is usually the hardest guy to mount. On the Can-Am, it's easy, but on a Razor Pro, Pro R, XP, Turbo R, you gotta find a specific location for them. And depending on the accessories, they might be in different locations, but that is the brain box. Then here we have the actual switch panel, which you guys saw already earlier. That was located right beneath my factory switches. Then you have the accessory cable, or brain cable, from the switch control to the brain box. Pretty self-explanatory. One goes to the brain box and the other one goes to the controller, and there it goes on the floor. Then you have the guy that's pretty much going to power all your accessories. We'll explain a little bit on that. And then you have some extra conduit, the main battery cable that goes from the positive on your battery to the SWITCHPROS brain box, which is this guy here. And then you have other stuff. They give you an accessory bezel. There is a mounting plate, which I didn't use in this situation. And then you have hardware and all the goods, which is pretty self-explanatory. So let's move on to where I mounted the brain box, how it reaches the battery, and some of the things on the new Maverick R. All right, so the new Maverick R is a little bit different than the X3 because the battery switches places. And also, lo and behold, the most asked question on the Facebook groups is, where's my cover? The Maverick R comes with a battery cover, which, thank you, Can-Am. So this kind of pops out of the way like that. And here you can see the battery. It's not a huge battery. It's basically almost the same size as an X3. But here you can see where I mounted my cable for my SWITCHPRO. So this is gonna be here. It routes behind this panel. I pretty much just snaked it in there and towards the other side, and we'll show you guys that in a second. I did take the time to add a trickle charger, quick plug on the other side of this wall. So that's what these extra wires are for. But basically, very simple. By the way, if you have a Maverick R, go ahead and make sure these nuts are tight. They were loose. You guys might have seen that in one of the other videos, which pissed me off. But hey, it's only a $45,000 vehicle.
They got me again.
So you probably already saw these nuts and screws kind of just hanging out right here, and that is where my SWITCHPROS is mounted. Let's go to the other side. So that panel never really gets moved. You never really have to take it off. And we'll go ahead and luckily move this out the way like that. It just pops up, and you can see the brain box is literally bolted directly to that panel. And that panel's not gonna go anywhere. On these new Maverick Rs, there are screws holding the panels in place now, which is a very thankful addition. I really appreciate that they did that, because before these things would pop off sometimes when they would wear out or whatever. So that brain box is there. Then you have the wire that goes to this. It kind of coiled it right there, so it's out of the way. And from there, well, you pretty much do all the connections for your SWITCHPRO. So in this main connector, and I'll pull that one out real quick, which is this guy right here. Besides about 4 of the wires, they're all pretty much power-ups or positives for whatever your accessories are going to be. So real quick, we'll run through all the wires. Black has to go directly to the negative on the battery, which it is on this machine. As you can see here, it's routed that way. Pink is a trigger wire. Normally you'll never use a trigger wire unless you want to do some crazy finagling stuff where turning on a switch from the OEM might trigger turning on other outputs, but we're not going to use that. The blue wire and the white wire, normally these, you hook them together. So one's a light blue, one's a white wire. The blue one, I believe, is for the ignition, and then the white wire is a control for your dimming, which on a UTV, it doesn't have such setup. So you'll connect these wires together and run this to an ignition source, which we will talk about in this video. Ignition source is very important on this machine. The rest of the wires, as you can see here, there is 8 outputs, but a total of, I believe, 12 wires. Let me count. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, 12 wires. And the reason for that is because on the SWITCHPROS, 4 of the switches are capable of, I believe, 30 amps, whereas the other 4 switches are only capable of 20 amps. In order to achieve that, there's 2 wires of one color, and you can pretty much, you know, connect those together or connect them to separate accessories to complete that 30 amps. And I might be wrong because I'm not reading the instructions, but see, like this one has 2 blues. Those 2 blues are the 30 amps versus the red, there's only 1 red, and that is for one switch that's only 20 amps or 15, something like that. But the point is, 4 circuits are capable of higher output, but there's 4 extra wires to go with it. So on a device like a SWITCHPROS, it is easy to wire up your vehicle, because all lights that you wire up to, you can cut off all the relays and all the fuses that come with the harnesses to those components. For example, on this machine, we're going to run a set of pods on the mirrors. Very common, right? The Squadron Sports that we're going to install on this machine come with their own harness, and that harness has a fuse and a relay. The relay is controlled by a separate switch, blah blah blah. You cut off all that stuff. The only thing you want left over from that harness, and honestly you could just get rid of it and make your own harness, but you only want the power and ground going to the Squadron, and you can find that pretty much coming out of the relay, and you pretty much cut it there. Hell, let me just show you guys.
Show you. I'll show you all.
Now here we have a generic harness that's made for a Baja Designs Onyx 6 light bar. And as you can see, you got your power and ground. You will hook that up to power and ground. You got your fuse, your standalone relay, and then you got 2 pieces here that are coming off the relay, right? One is the switch control, and the other one is the actual lead that goes to your light. And in this case, it only has power and ground, as you can see there. Sorry if it's dark. Now, in this case, you don't need anything except for this guy. And you pretty much cut it over here at the relay. And that's what we want right there. We're gonna go all the way to the relay right here. Cut this off. That's all you need. And this all can go get thrown away. I mean, you could keep it maybe for a future project, but you don't need it. You only need this side.
That's all you need.
And what you're left with on that harness is a power and ground. Sometimes it'll be black and red, sometimes it'll be black and white, but black is always your ground and red or white is your power. Now the red or white wire is gonna be powered by the SWITCHPROS. I'll show you an example. Well, I didn't want to do this, but some of you guys need a visual representation, and that's gonna cost me about 40 bucks. So if you guys wanna buy me a beer, hit the freaking Venmo, dude. Anyways, we got this. All right, so now that we cut those off, one obviously is gonna go to your light bar that you're powering. In this case, let's just pretend this is a Baja Designs 10-inch shock tower light. And then the other side, you have a white and a black wire. So now you're left with a black and white wire. So very simple to wire up to SWITCHPROS. The white wire, like I said, is gonna be powered by the SWITCHPROS. So in this case, say for example, switch 1 is the color, I don't know, yellow. You gotta look at your freaking diagram that the kit comes with. You would pretty much hook up white and yellow directly. See? Those two wires. They could hook up directly with a butt connector. I highly recommend a water resistant butt connector so you avoid having issues. We'll go ahead and put some crimp tools as well as the terminals and butt connectors that I normally always use on these situations, and that will power that. Now on the other side, the ground, the SWITCHPROS doesn't have an area to ground on. So you actually have to ground this to the bus bar on the Can-Am here. Or if you have a Razor, you can find the ground normally underneath the access panel in the center of the dash. So one wire goes to the SWITCHPROS, or being powered by the SWITCHPROS, and the other one goes directly to ground. I like to use these ring terminals. Also water resistant, and they shrink with some heat. So now that we got that out of the way, let me show you guys where I routed the wires for all the lights. So as you can see, the SWITCHPROS is basically full. We have headlights, mirrors, light bar, bumper lights, dome, rock, whips, and the chase light. So multiple products are going to go in this machine, and I wanted to pre-wire everything so I don't have to keep pulling the seats on and off the machine. It's stupid to do that. You can wire your SWITCHPROS, just run the wire. If you already know what products you're going to run, just throw the wire in there, and that's what we did. So my harness is already set up, as you can see already. This is all me and my doing. So pretty much you got the wires coming out of this connector, and then it goes into a loom here. I got grounds going that way, I got grounds going this way, and obviously the powers from the SWITCHPROS powering things this way and that way. So multiple products for the front, multiple products going towards the cage on each corner, and we'll kind of go over that now. So here are some wires that are routing, and these are going to be going towards the front, and some of them are going to be going above towards the fuse block and to this corner. Now it's going to be kind of hard to see, but right there on the frame I zip tied two harnesses. One is going to be a dome light, or excuse me, a rock light control, and the other one is for a set of bumper lights. So that's pretty much wrapped up there for the future when I run some bumper lights and when I run my dome lights. I'm not gonna take this part right now just to put dome lights on it, but in the future, when say I'm servicing something and that front end comes off, I can mount my dome lights and have power and ground ready to go. Now here I got some wires. It's hard to see, but they come up and then they route this way. These panels just pop off, and this one is 410s basically after you remove this one, which is a Torx. And then I got two looms of harnesses here, and that is going to be for my tube for a dome light and for the mirror pods right here. And the opposite side, we have wires underneath this cover, and that is going to be for my light bar and for the pods for the mirrors here. So Squadron Sports, we got a bar coming here for the front for my cage, not this cage. And then we have another harness actually coming from that area, and that's going to be the ignition wire, and we'll talk about the ignition wire at the very end. Let me cover some of the other lights that are going to go towards the rear. So going towards the rear, we also have chase, dome, and whips. Now they're all gonna go through the pass-through in the center. Just be very careful to not get close to any engine components, moving components, or even some components are gonna be really hot at all times because that can damage the wiring. So this engine on this machine is facing, the front of the engine is facing the front, and it's very, very close to the cover here. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the cab is very similar to an X3, but I feel like you got less room in the back. Like these freaking seats are right against this thing. So, and then the center here, this is even pushed out, and the front of the engine is right there. So we have wires going for the whips. I got two separate harnesses coming from my loom, one going that way and one going this way. And then going this way, we also have a set of wires, power and ground for rock lights, and another set of wires that are going to be for my chase lights. So that routes through that tunnel, and it's going to be hard to see here, guys, but it comes out from the front over there. So the wires come out through the center, and then you're going to have to reach in there and carefully guide them out, and then they route up here following this other wiring harness, and they route here, as you can tell. So I got actually another set of wires I forgot to mention, but I actually have my pumper already mounted right in this corner. Now if you have a California model, you will have an an emissions evap tank. I'm thinking about work right now. You will have an emissions evap tank, and it'll be in the way, so you can't put it here. I deleted mine, so I'm not going to show you guys how to do that, but it's not that hard. You pretty much got to leave this sensor. Where is it at? Somewhere in here. That sensor right there, that purge solenoid, or freaking whatever you want to call that, vent solenoid, you gotta leave that connected, but everything around that can be pretty much cut off. So there are some lines you have to deal with, which I haven't dealt with yet, but this goes to the throttle body, and the other one can go into the frame as it's just a vent line for the fuel system. But that'll be for another video maybe. Anyways, the wiring routes here, and then going towards the top, one is for the pumper. We got a set of wires hanging out here for my whips, power and ground for whips, and then a 4-pin, I believe, or 6-wire, 6 lead, which is going to be for my chase light. So we have some stuff cooking up as far as the chase light goes with Doom Gear. So they're going to be making something special, some chase lights, and we're going to be running their chase light because Tony's my guy. You've probably seen Tony in the Glamis video. He's a good guy, man. So on the opposite side, we pretty much have the same thing, except for it's just wires for the whip, and it looks terrible, I will admit, because got a lot of access wire here. We're not done yet. I almost forgot to talk about the ignition wire and where you're going to connect it and how it's going to change the operation of the SWITCHPROS. So like we said in the beginning of the video, the light blue with white wire, you will put these together to an ignition source. So a lot of you guys and a lot of you shops are going to do what is honestly common sense, and that's to put it at the accessory circuit that's right here, or like on any X3 or Razor, they all have some sort of accessory circuit. But on the Can-Ams, it acts a little weird. It only works when the key's in the ignition and doesn't really operate the way that the other switches, factory switches, work. And I'll show you what I mean. So currently there's no key in the machine, and if you press this button, the lights turn on and they are accessible. You know, this will turn on and you can actually go through the modes in here. You can press the shock button and it will change the shock buttons. The accessory post, this guy right here, actually has no power right now. And that is not gonna work out for me, for my style and how I want this thing to work. I want it to work the same time the other switches are working. And as you can see, it is. And the way you do that is you actually piggyback off whatever accessory circuit that these things run off of. So in my case, I went ahead and piggybacked off the light switch, the headlight switch, the OEM switch. So like I said earlier, we ran wires to that corner. Well, one wire, and only one for your ignition, actually tied into the factory headlight switch. So one thing I didn't talk about, guys, is I'm actually moving my headlights to my SWITCHPROS. And that's because I don't really want to have switches here no more. In the future, I'd like to put a rugged radios here up top, not down low like they sell you. I like to put it up high and get rid of all this. So on the headlight switch, and you could find this on the old Can-Am X3s. I would normally do it off the 4x4 switch. There is a circuit that is red with, I believe, a blue line on it. And I'll just go ahead and show you guys. I kind of already cut it off mine because again, I'm not using the switch. If you are going to use the factory headlight switch, then you would just pretty much tap into it and not completely cut it. But as you can see there, it's red with a blue line, and that's going to become your ignition source. That's what I tied in the light white and light blue ignition wires from the SWITCHPROS straight into that. So the system turns on the SWITCHPROS at the same exact time as it does the other switches that are OEM on this machine, and that's how this will operate like factory. So we got a factory look going on here with the TMW plate, and the switches look very similar. I mean, obviously they're not identical, but they look very similar, and this whole setup is gonna work kind of OEM, so that's how I like it. So that's how you're gonna do it for the Can-Am X3 and the Maverick R. And for you Razor guys, you guys don't have to worry about that because you guys use a key, and obviously when you turn over the key, it gives you power. So just a little different. These have that transponder stuff, weird stuff. Nothing else special on this machine besides the fact that we are going to be running new harnesses, and we got our mounts here. I found these mounts that work on 3-inch, and they're made by Dragonfire, which I didn't know about until not that long ago, and I decided to get those. Also, I got pumper hoses. This one's not long enough. We got to get a longer hose for my pumper here, and then we got the other one over there. We made a hole, and this hole's not very easy to make. On the other side, there's a bunch of stuff around it. You had to be perfectly centered to make this hole, and that goes through there. So I'll probably run some rubber hose around this just so my pumper hose doesn't get damaged, but that's gonna work overall good. I didn't want to have my pumper hanging out in one of the corners looking all ugly. I wanted it out of the way, actually far away, because I don't like all the freaking noise in my ear when you put it next to you over there on the A pillar or B pillar. So that's that. I'm actually gonna put this thing back together. So now I'm pre-wired for all my accessories. Light bar, Squadron Sports on the mirrors, bumper lights, we got dome lights, we got rock lights, we got whips, we got all sorts of stuff. They're gonna be pretty much pre-wired, ready to go. And when I get these accessories little by little, I can just install them and the power and ground are already there. So very easy, very awesome. I like to have, you know, accessories all pretty much on one panel now. I used to do the whole rocker switch thing. Those rocker switches suck. They will freaking fail on you. Sand will get in them. They get stuck. The relays get water in them, and the relays will take a crap. I highly recommend one of these SWITCHPROS, or like on the white machine, we did a SWITCHWORKS. But personally, I think I'm gonna be sticking to the SWITCHPROS just because I like the build quality a little bit better. But so good stuff. Don't forget to check out some of the stuff on the website. We got new hats available, ready to go on the website. Links down below for that. Support your boy, as well as new beanies. Let's just show you guys some of those beanies right now. They are freaking sick. We got green, tan, gray, black, and of course for the ladies we got some pink. And all the purchases made on the website support this channel so we can keep making videos like this. Informationals, writing videos, how-tos, so on and so forth, updates, and just talking about UTVs in general, because if you guys like this stuff like I do, you want to know what's going on. So cool stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if it was informational for you guys and it helped you out. If it didn't, sorry, not sorry, but hopefully it did. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. This one will be ready for King of the Hammers. We'll see you guys out there. I'll be out there. Should be a good time. See you.